All right, good evening. Good evening. Today is August the 4th, 2021, and this is our Friends Wheeling Tour for August, and you can see from the lights flickering that we're experiencing a terrible thunderstorm outside, so we decided to start inside rather than out. We are at 2243 Chapline Street, and I'll tell you a little bit about this house and then introduce you to the new owners, but first let me make a few announcements. First of all, the Friends of Wheeling bicycle tour of historic South Wheeling will be Sunday morning at 8 o'clock on September the 12th. That's free and open to the public. It's not a very rigorous ride, so anyone can start. We'll be starting at Wheeling Middle School.
You don't have a bike, will you have bikes to rent or something?
No, we don't, but you can get bikes at the down at the port, at Heritage Port.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the following Sunday in the afternoon on September the 19th will be our Greenwood Cemetery tour. That's from 1 to 5, and that's again free and open to the public. We have 14 presenters, and as always, there's some interesting stories at the Greenwood Cemetery tour. So again, here we are at 2243 Chapline Street. The first reference that we were able to find for anyone living at this address was in the 1884 Wheeling City Directory. There were two sisters, Annie B. Wilson and Mary C. Wilson, who lived at this address. The Wilson sisters, along with their sister Mary and brother George, were the children of George Jeffries Wilson, 1797 to 1861, and his wife Katherine Baird Wilson, 1812 to 1871. The property had been left to the Wilson siblings in a will that stipulated that the women could have the property, quote, as long as they remained unmarried. If they married, the property was to go to their brother, George Baird Wilson, who lived in New Jersey at the time of his death. The 1900 Ohio County Census lists the three single women, Mary, Agnes, and Annie Wilson at 2243 Chapline Street, along with one female servant. Agnes was listed as City Librarian. An earlier city directory listing indicated that Annie was a librarian at the public library. Agnes McFarquar Wilson died in 1942, age 91. Annie Baird Wilson died the following year, age 89. Their death certificates indicate that they were still living at 2243 Chapline Street when they died, and both are buried in Greenwood Cemetery. No death record was found for their sister Mary, so she may have died or died out of town. And of course, if she married, she lost her inheritance. The house was listed as vacant in the 1944 city directory, which would have been shortly after the death of Annie. It was then transferred to a large group of people headed by William G. Caldwell under the will of George Baird Wilson. The Caldwells and Bairds were related by marriage, so it's possible that the heirs were cousins or some other relations of the Wilsons. In 1946, the property was purchased for $8,000 by Carl and Florence Fisher. And $8,000 today would be the equivalent of about $108,000. Carl Fisher, who was born in 1895, was listed as a justice of the peace in an earlier city directory, with the added, quote, income tax consultant and notary occupations added in later years. In the 1950s, Frederick Vass, V-A-A-S, a salesman for Coca-Cola Bottling Company, and his wife Laverne also lived at the same address. And you'll see that over the years, the house has been divided into two units, and we'll hear more about that later. James C. and Gertrude Barnes bought the property in 1963 for $18,500, which is the equivalent of about $159,000 today. But according to city directories, they still lived on Knox Lane, out near Lindsley, with their only daughter Pauline until around 1969. James Barnes worked as a C&P telephone lineman at the time of his World War I draft registration, and as a railroad electrician at the time of the 1940 census. Both he and his wife were listed as retired by the mid-1960s. James Barnes died in mid-1970, age 76, and his wife Gertrude died in 1975, age 79. Their daughter Pauline remained at 2243 Chaplain until her death, and she is buried in New Martinsville along with her parents. Her obituary reads, Pauline C. Barnes, 96, of Wheeling, West Virginia, passed away Monday, July 20th, 2020, in Wheeling Hospital. Pauline was born August the 11th, 1923, in Bridgeport, Ohio, the only child of James C. and Gertrude Barnes. She was a graduate of Bridgeport High School and attended West Liberty State College. She retired from Western Union after 29 years, the North American Coal Corporation after 14 years, and was a former employee of Wheeling Downs Racing Association. She was also a former member of St. James Evangelical Lutheran Church in Wheeling. She left $100,000 in her will for perpetual care to the cemetery where she and her parents were buried. She also left bequests of $5,000 and $10,000 to each of several friends and another $5,000 for the care of her pets. The remainder of her estate was to be divided, with 80% going to the Community Foundation for the Ohio Valley and 20% to St. James Lutheran Church. Now, as you know, my daughter is the director of the Community Foundation, and the estate is still not settled, and so we have no idea just how much the total estate was worth. And so, the current owners are the McGregor family, and we have with us Russ,
Hi.
Maddie, Ellie, and Sissy. And Russ, you want to take it from here? While he's getting turned on, let me just point out that some of the things that you see in the house, like these chandeliers and the screen in front of the fireplace, were owned by Pauline Barnes. There was an estate sale following her death, and the McGregors were able to go to that sale and retrieve some of her items to bring back home again.
The girls went. They did that for us.
They did all the hard work. Sissy said, all I want is a punch bowl. Just, can I have one of her punch bowls so we can have something to remember her? The girls were able to score. I love the peacock, so I asked for that. They found these wonderful candelabras. And if you go down the basement, you'll notice a few chests of drawers. They also came from the house. And they're awaiting a couple things. One is a little bit refurbishment of the rooms to put them in. And themselves, they need to be cleaned up and redone, maybe re-waxed and things. But they're in pretty good shape. And it's really great to have stuff from Pauline. And my family was here for generations. My great-grandfather, my grandfather, and my dad were all from Wheeling. And in fact, my great-grandfather had a company, McGregor China, for at least 100 years here in Wheeling. And I know it was at least 100 years because if you look on the wall over there, you will see the presentation of a thank you for your 100-year anniversary, and that was done in 1953. I think the company was closed not that long after that, after my great-grandfather passed away, but that's where our first connections and tie-ins to Wheeling are. We were here several years ago, and my wife Sissy and I were visiting Wheeling. We were staying at Ogilvy Park, and I was showing her around. And we just decided there's no reason why we shouldn't come back and find a place. We love the North Wheeling. We love the homes there on Main Street. The homes, my great-grandfather lived on the island on Front Street. And my father grew up in Shawnee Hills. And my grandmother, when I was a kid, my grandmother lived on Stam Lane out in Pleasant Valley. Is that Elm Grove, maybe? So I spent some summers out there, and we thought this is a wonderful opportunity. We came, we found the house, we lost the house, we got the house, we lost the house. This is what you'd expect. But when all was said and done, we found this house. We thought this is a place where we can come. We convinced the girls, two lovely daughters, to come and help out, and if they could move out here, they could help with meeting contractors, with helping on the weekends and doing work, because we have no intention, at least currently, of selling our place in Pasadena, California. And so while we're coming back and forth, it's great to have somebody who's willing to come here. And there's a couple of nice things about that. One is to have young people come to Wheeling and experience what the potential is of Wheeling. We like our proximity to Center Market. We think this is the perfect location to come here. As a family, we can come here long term. We imagine we may have grandkids at some point, and we want to have a place to come for the summer. We'll offer the place up as an Airbnb. Things like that. We may have our own place here to stay. It's spacious, as you'll see when you travel around. There's plenty of rooms and places to stay, and so maybe we have a place we stay and still we have an Airbnb, and maybe it's just a place for the family to come out and spend time together periodically. I think the pandemic kind of taught us all about what's important and what's valuable and what you can do when you can spend time together. And while we did have a wonderful time and a lot of togetherness in Pasadena at certain points in time, we also thought, hey, this is an opportunity to really expand our horizons. The girls, from their standpoint, they thought Wheeling is perfectly located for us. A couple weeks, they're off to New York City. They've already been down to the country's newest national park to see the gorge. They think we can go to Baltimore, we can go to New York City, Chicago. We're in the middle of everything. It's great. So they're happy to be here doing that and exploring and broadening their experience on the East Coast. So, and I love being what my parents always called back east. Growing up as a kid, my parents met when my mom worked at Ogilvy Park and my dad was visiting there, and he went to Bethany College. So that was always back east. Whenever the summer came around, and all my parents were in education, so they had summers off, more or less. And they would take us. We also, as students, had summers off. So, hey, let's go to Wheeling. Let's go back east. So I really feel like now I'm back east. As far as the house, we're going to tour the house. We'll walk around. Maybe it's in several groups. As you can see, this is the parlor. When we bought it, it was quite dirty. And not just dirty, but really, really filthy and had some problem. We had to almost immediately just clean up what we could just so that we could be here. The upstairs, which was a separate unit for a long time, is in much better shape in many ways. Pauline was not able to get upstairs and didn't have tenants in the last few years, so she was down here. There's a kitchen and a bathroom down here. The kitchen, as you will see, is gutted. Not gutted from the sense of the plaster's off the walls, but except where it is, because it's coming down off the walls from the outside. The bathroom is unusable. The water's shut off there currently. Upstairs, there is a functioning bathroom that we were able to get functioning. There is a kitchen. I'd advise you not to walk out into the kitchen out there, the green kitchen out there. It's tacked onto the back porch, and it's not really stable there. So that will be removed or converted into something else. This staircase here, when we walked in, we didn't see a grand staircase for a big Victorian house. No grand staircase. Where's the grand staircase? Well, there is one upstairs. And I would submit to you that one was not the only nice balustrade and newel post and everything else. And in fact, I bet they probably looked very similar. So when you go upstairs, if you picture that, look at that one and picture, that was probably what we had down here. So we hope to recreate that. I put some holes and cameras in the walls, and I've looked downstairs from the basement, looked up where the newel post was bolted to the floor, and unfortunately, it is not there. But we'll find one that's very similar. So one of our things is to take down this wall by the staircase here and rebuild the staircase with a beautiful balustrade, so it becomes once again, a single-family home. On the outside, we have some brick and masonry work, chimney work, things like that. You'll see peeling paint and falling plaster. That's, of course, a sign that things are not very good on the outside. So we hope to have all that repaired by the end of October. And that's I think our timeline. Do some roofing work. Out back there's a garage, a 2-car garage with a bonus storage room that we affectionately call the yoga studio, although I don't practice yoga, I don't know. But it needs re-roofing, and if you go inside there, peer inside there, it's unlocked, but it's the roof is caving in, and there was a dropped ceiling, and that's not in good shape. So that's going to need some work. The 2-car garage needs some work, but we'll get there, and currently it's usable for us for storing and building things and taking out the carpet and leaving there until we get the dumpster and that type of thing. Again, downstairs, the bathroom is not usable, but it's cleaned up because it was causing me a problem, headaches. I'm sleeping here. Upstairs, feel free to, the second floor, walk around. It's hot, and I apologize for the heat, but we have no AC in this. And I have one little portable AC unit upstairs in the bedroom where I'm sleeping. But pay attention to the shutters, the doors and the closet. That's my template for what the doors should look like. In many cases, we're looking at doors and shutters that have either years of whatever coming in and the darkening of all the shellac on there. So it's difficult to see what it will look like when it's restored. But the bedroom upstairs is a real good template because it's in phenomenally good shape once it was cleaned up. This we suspect was a pocket door based on the cracks in the plaster here. Our guess is that they took one of the pocket doors and they converted it into a swinging door. And again, holes and cameras in the walls and no second pocket door in the wall. So sadly, all I have is a template, if in fact that's the door I use, when and if we decide to restore the pocket doors. But we would love to hear everybody's opinion on things like that. The pocket doors, the staircase, if you have experience with that, if you know people who know how to do that, visualize that, because while we've done stuff, we've worked on our own houses, and we're not scared of anything, we love to take good ideas and put them into practice with the help of people.
When was the last time someone lived here, actually?
Pauline moved, she lived here in 2020, but when she became ill, she moved in. My understanding is she moved in with a friend and then passed away in a hospital. Middle of 2020, I think it was?
July of 2020.
July of 2020. So she was some few months before that was the last time she was here. It was, according to the people who cleaned out the house for the auction, it was quite messy. There was a lot of stuff covering the floors and so that was. And then I think there were months where the water was left on in the bathroom with the toilet that had leaks between the tank and the bowl. So there's significant damage in the floor in that bathroom and other places that she was unable to attend to.
And if you're on Instagram, you can see a really interesting, cute little video of the group pulling up the carpet.
Yeah. So it's at Chaplain House on Instagram. If you follow on Instagram, and we also have a 3D tour. Believe it or not, before 3D tour, even before much of this was even swept. So I will post that and link to that on Instagram at some point, and Facebook as well. Instaface, I think I heard somebody call it because.
Do you want to lead us through now?
Sure.
Okay. Great.
This is the parlor.
Yes. Yes.
So in the dining room here, we still have much work to do, of course, with the walls and refinishing the walls, dealing with the cracks in the plaster. But we did start with a few things like cleaning off the light fixtures and the shades around the light fixtures, because surprisingly, or maybe not surprisingly, cleaning them up, they provide a lot more light. And it's important to have light as we're working here. This is sort of our workstation. Got power to this corner and put in a fridge and a coffee maker so that life can at least be tolerable. And so after cleaning up these things and opening shutters, we're able to get some light in here and start working. The floors need a lot of attention. Fortunately, upstairs you'll find the floors are much better shape. Excuse me. On the third floor, there are pine floors that are not as nice and fancy as these floors. However, personally, and again, this is something I would love to have your advice and thoughts on. I love the patina of the wide plank pine floors. I want to clean them up, maybe wax them, but leave them alone. Not put any polyurethane, not put any sanders on them. Just do that for those upper two bedrooms. So when we go up there, take a look at the floor and then let me know. And okay, the kitchen. Yikes. Yeah, I know.
That 8 layers
Right?
of wallpaper on it. Take it off.
I know, yeah. So, in the kitchen, and again, in the interest of getting as much light in here as possible to work, we've pulled out insulation stuff that was in the transom window, taken off shutters, which we have over here to clean up the hinges, but we may or may not put the shutters back on, but just being able to get the light in here to work. So we have this sink. This is the only functional part of the kitchen, and it's itself is not that great. As you can see on this wall here on the corner of the house, the back of the house, there's box gutters up on top are failing and coming apart, and we need to have those repaired. And also the masonry on the outside is in need of attention. There's no real point in playing around with the plaster and the paint and feeling paint until we get the real problem solved first. So one of our initial things is to get the root of the problem, get to the outside and repair the masonry and the roof and the box gutters there. Shall we go? They like basements. Shall we go to the basement?
Let's go up first and
Go up
then
first?
volunteers for the basement. How about that?
Okay. All right.
I'm on
So-
your way, sorry.
Oh,
And Joanne, as we pass through here, there is a picture of Colleen Barnes as a
Thank you for
senior
coming.
in high school
Thank you for inviting me.
at
see you.
Bridgeport High
Thank you.
School. She's this young lady right here.
good. Good. I'm live on Facebook Live, so anything you say is being recorded right now. Okay. So these are my wonderful cousins from Pittsburgh that came to enjoy the tour with us. This is John and Annie. And so, okay, so bathroom, and this is the staircase wall. This wall it must have come there. You can see the bottom of the other staircase. Typical in the construction here, but there would be some sort of spiral staircase and balustrade that would go around there, and it would be open to the top. That we need to do once again. exactly how that's going to happen is going to take, I think, some architectural and engineering advice. Fortunately, we know some people and we have some friends. I think we'll get there. Hello.
Hi.
Hi. So again, this is the staircase. It may or may not be original stairs, but the question is what's in the wall in terms of the balustrade. And then when we do go to update it, how do we treat this corner here, and we remove the trim in the doorway here and somehow treat that so that it looks like the one above it, because that's the way it would have looked when it was built. This is is a bedroom, but it was used as a dining room. There's the bathroom here. We have functional clawfoot tub, little sink in the corner. I've spent quite a bunch of time getting the windows to operate. There's a lot of windows, as somebody pointed out. A lot of windows, most of them screwed shut in several places. So this was being used as a dining room, hence the vinyl or linoleum floor. It does have hardwood floors underneath here, and we'll pick them up, and once we've cleaned stuff up, it makes sense to leave this down to protect the floors such as it is. But on Instagram, when we took up the carpet, you saw the hardwood floors underneath that carpet. It is nice, and it's exciting for the girls and for us to pull these things up and look at the hardwood floors underneath and get that satisfaction. But from a practical standpoint, I've asked them to leave this for now. This room, as you can see from the water on the floor, it's not entirely sealed to the wall of the house. It's kind of leaning off that way. This was the kitchen for the upstairs unit. And a closet. I do have these doors. Fortunately, most pieces, with the exception of what was in the wall for the staircase and the pocket doors, everything else seems to be here. Even hinge pins. I spent some time online trying to locate hinge pins, but I found some here, so I think I'm going to be in good shape. So this is, those are not old hinge pins, but this is the stairs down to the first floor deck. So this would be the back staircase. And please watch your step here. Okay. Okay. This is the room that I'm using. This is my campground. Currently, I've got a bit of the trim cleaned up, the walls partly cleaned up and ready for paint. And we're going to do an encapsulating, lead encapsulating paint over everything, and fix all the plaster here. This is probably the first room we're going to do. I mentioned before the doors or the templates. That to me is what I want. Those doors have been cleaned up. I'd like to have all the doors look like that. So that's sort of my template in my mind. One of the things I've been doing is looking at shellac and various cuts of shellac to find the right proportions to recreate shellac. In some cases, I think this is a little different. It was maybe a different shellac, or maybe even painted over, but yet the original shellac is here, and it just needs to be cleaned up and then matched. Okay, the front bedroom. This is the bedroom of the infamous carpet pickup, and And while I think the removal of those awnings outside will make Sissy very happy because bring more light into the room. They're also keeping the rain off the windows too right now. So the fireplace was all painted, and the girls have been, they're not finished, but they've spent some time cleaning the paint off the fireplace. They pulled up, this was all a white carpet or off-white carpet that they pulled up, revealing these floors that need very little attention, certainly don't need to see a sander. So we're happy about that. And just yesterday I just got that window operational. It was put in incorrectly, and one of the windows had a wasp nest that was keeping the storm window from properly working, and I couldn't open it because right.
Should look like right here coming down.
Yeah. So this room is, we call it the library. It's really too small to be anything but a little library. This radio was not here. I acquired this radio. It's something I've done in the past. I did one for our home in Pasadena where I removed this speaker in the chassis and created a wine rack out of it in a smart speaker with lights to light up the dial. So that's sort of in progress right now. But it's in really good shape, so I couldn't resist the old 1947 Philco. It's, believe it or not, it's a record player as well. So, although it may not always be a record player.
With a record, one will do there.
Right. That may be the wine rack, yes. So if you want to follow me upstairs.
You can see the banisters and stuff out there.
So glad you came. This is one of my favorite little secret features, the diamond-shaped window. We leave it closed because the screen doesn't really fit in well, and if I leave it open, birds will come in. But I think they like the diamond shape too. But it's really cute, and we really need to get on fixing the screen, or maybe creating a new screen for it. It's probably custom anyway, but what a cute little feature. And it does, believe it or not, provide some cooling up here.
Looks better.
Again, apologies for the heat, but I haven't gotten to these windows yet, so we're limited on ventilation up here. As Joanne mentioned, this was a sort of a wall that was hastily constructed here for some reason, and we took this down. That provides a little bit of airflow in here because the wall just didn't belong. But this is the third floor. There's two smaller bedrooms, or will become bedrooms. What the trunk closet here we may use this as a washroom and just put a sink and something in there. Not really big enough for a shower, a tub, possibly a half bath or just a washroom. And that, I think that's an original coal fireplace in there. We cleaned out the coal that was in there. I think the last time that was used, they were burning coal in that fireplace. And these are the floors, the pine floors that I love so much. They were not considered as nice as the red oak floors downstairs, and yet somehow they're in their own way equally beautiful. And so I think we'll largely keep these, clean them up, but keep them with a patina and something that really shows the character of the house. Say that again? Well, you could, but I think I like them the way they are. Yeah. I like to clean them up and. Yeah, they would come cleaner. Now the red oak downstairs may want that a little more than this. This I don't know. It just feels old. You know, something an antique appraiser told me years ago when I had to have some things appraised. He said, well, when we look at it, the first thing we ask ourselves when wondering if it's an antique or not, he said, does it look old? Does it feel old? And you can really tell as an appraiser when something's old because you know it. It feels old. And to me, this feels old. And why not keep that? Sometimes old's not that bad. Are there any questions? Is there anything I've missed? That we do have a basement and a back deck and some things, but does anybody have any questions at this point?
Good luck.
Thank you.
Pretty awesome. At least your hand was sturdy.
Yeah, I mean, and this is beautiful.
They're just shaky.
I think this was probably what the newel post looked like on the ground floor, and we can certainly replace that. There is a house around the corner that's for sale with a very similar looking staircase. So my guess is that's exactly what it was, but somehow the first to second floor stairs need to look like this, after a fashion anyway, right? I want to be able to look down and see all the way down. This was we've heard 1874 built, but the first time somebody was living was early 1880s. The first time they have record of somebody living here.
We're going to go Sunday. We have some tree lights down.
That's much cooler down here. Okay.
No laughing, this is
Do we
serious.
go to the basement and do a basement tour? Okay. All right, basement tour is optional, but
They love seeing basements.
that's what I hear. Who doesn't? We're doing an optional basement tour now. Little water, it looks like, came in here.
Pittsburgh toilet.
There's the Pittsburgh potty. I've replaced valves here, shut-off valves, so I can shut off the water upstairs. And sadly, the Pittsburgh potty is also in the same water supply. So once I get other shut-off valves done, I can turn this back on. Then I'll be able to clean that up and get it functional. These are the pieces of furniture that the girls acquired at auction that were originally part of the house, as well as these 4 lamps. The 4 lamps need a lot of work, but they're just so beautiful, and potentially they would have had Tiffany shades, small or medium Tiffany shades, and the cords, of course, need to be replaced, but you can get stuff that's so similar to what it looked like originally, and to clean that up, put a Tiffany shade on it, it'll really look beautiful. That is a pot from Red Wing Pottery. Usually you see them in green, and again, original. It was something that was with the house. I think it will become an umbrella stand. Then we got some pictures just for the frames. Now here's my trick. Alexa, turn on the speakeasy. So back here is is what we call the speakeasy, because we have big enough amount of space here. You can see we have some water coming here from this heavy rain. But this is our basement, mechanicals room, furnace in here, water heater there. I've been testing out shellacs and the various formulations, combination of shellac here to come up with the right color, because I have a piece of floorboard anyway. After doing the floor, then I will also do the shutters. So I know the shutters, if you notice, the shellac comes as chips, and they're some secretion from the lac beetle, something like that. Buy the chips, combine the chips with denatured alcohol, and you have shellac. So, and similarly, to clean the shellac, like on the shutters, just denatured alcohol with steel wool, very fine steel wool, and it will dissolve the problems in the shellac and return it back to a shellac-like thing. Over the years, it darkens and stuff gets integrated into it. So, yeah. So,
All right, good.
so I think that's my tour.
That is about it. I think it's still raining, so we won't go outside right now. Maybe Joanne will venture outside if it has stopped by the time we get upstairs. But we would like to make an appointment for an after tour when you're done.
Absolutely. Do I have to commit to a date?
No. Pick a date and then double the time.
Right.
Or triple it, yeah.
Yeah, double it and then double it again.
Yeah.
Right, because everything takes longer than you think it will take.
Okay.
Right. So,
Well,
well, thanks everybody for coming down here. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, so thank you for joining us, those of you online. And again, this is a Friends of Wheeling tour. And if you're interested in joining Friends of Wheeling, just contact us through Facebook or some other way, and we'll be glad to get you membership information.
Can I give a shout out to Instagram handle?
Absolutely.
So it's at Chaplain House on Instagram. And you can also follow the McGregors. I'm Russ McGregor. I have Ellie McGregor, Maddie McGregor, and Sissy McGregor. And we're all on Instagram posting sometimes about the house and sometimes alongside the at Chaplain House handle. And we would love your comments, advice, ideas. Yeah.
Sympathies.
So sympathy. Right. So, and thank you for sharing this with us.
Great.
Really happy.
One last thing, as of today, we still have one rental unit available in the historic Robert W. Hazlett House. It's a one-bedroom unit